Are you tired of the same old pro wrestling? Then check out the amazing action on Powerslam.tv, the biggest indie pro wrestling channel in the world. Get over 4,000 hours of the best pro wrestling events from over 110 of the biggest names in the industry from over 15 countries around the globe. Get your free trial today at Powerslam.tv.
The following is brought to you by the Social Suplex Podcast Network.
Don't you want to sound Ricky?
Welcome to the 71st episode of Social Suplex's podcast about AEW with a proclivity for positivity. Welcome to all things elite. My name is Austin Sumwitz, and joining with me is the newly acquainted to the loveliness that is Lilo and Stitch. It is Floyd Johnson Jr. How you doing, man?
Hey, how's it going, everybody? I am in my 39th year on this earth. I watched a movie that's been out since like 2001 for the first time, and it was Lilo and Stitch. And when I was talking to Sydney and she was shocked I didn't see it, I was like, well, first of all, I was an adult before the movie came out. So, cartoon movies, you know, when you're in that 18 to 25 range, I will tell anybody, you're trying to prove you're an adult. So, going to cartoon movies wasn't necessarily a priority in my life. Second of all, it looked like E.T., and I was like, the thing about cartoon movies, I don't know if you've noticed this, but a lot of cartoon movies are just live-action movies turned into cartoons.
I mean, that may be the case, but now you're looking at most movies nowadays, and it's like animated movies turned into live-action movies.
Yeah, that's true. But, like, one of the movies I love is Monsters U, right? It is literally almost it's the Monsters version of Animal House.
I was going to say, yeah.
It's like the exact plot. The words were changed to deal with monsters, but it's the exact plot of Animal House all the way through. And it's just like, oh, so I'm just saying, in my infinite wisdom as 21, which now at 39, I know I didn't know shit. I just was like, oh, it's just E.T. again. I'm never going to see that movie. Then, so Sydney was like, oh, it's nothing like E.T. And, you know, I hadn't met anybody that was hardcore Lilo and Stitch like this. So I was like, okay, shit, I work overnights. I don't have anything to do. Let me throw on Lilo and Stitch. And I was hooked. I can honestly say, I wouldn't say it's like the greatest movie of all time in my opinion, but I told Sydney I am watching it at 39 years old, so what your favorite movies is and how it hits you and everything like that is depending on the mood you're in, what type of movies you like, how old you are. All of those play into how much you love a movie. Well, I'm 39, so... You know, it's just not going to get into my soul like that. I mean, I liked it. I was like, dude, Bubbles, that's my guy. Bubbles is my dude. I was like, dude, I'm going to start going by Bubbles. Because he's just this big old bald-headed black guy that has, like, the heart of gold. And he's, like, literally, like, 97 different reasons to take Lilo away from her sister, and he's just like, okay, I'm gonna give you another chance, and I'm gonna give you another chance, and I'm gonna give you another chance. So you could see that he didn't want to, but he's like, dude, you kind of suck at this. So no, it was like, and then it was like in Stitch, the raging beast that just gets tamed by just love and family and all that stuff, and it was just like. And then when he talked at the end, like really talked, I was like, family, can I say goodbye? I was like, oh my God, tears hitting my heartstrings. I didn't think I would. But yeah, it's a really good movie. It's a really good movie.
I mean, I grew up with that movie, and I was like, it's still one of my favorite Disney movies of all time. Not one of my favorite movies, period, but one of my favorite Disney movies of all time for sure. I
thought Sydney was gonna not be friends with me when I gave her my Pixar top 3.
I think she was more thinking that I was gonna be furious about it because, like I said, that's like I know that like every line in that movie. It's like I watched it so much as a kid.
Yeah, I'm so immature. I think Sydney forgets that there's damn near a 20-year gap in our age. So I'm like, I did not grow up with these movies. I was grown before these movies came out. So I think she forgets that sometimes. So I have to remind her. I just have to remind her. I was like, I literally turned 21 the year Lilo and Stitch came out.
So yeah, and probably not something you're seeking out.
Yeah, it wasn't going to be like, it wasn't a movie I was going out. Like, I watch cartoon movies all the time, but even at my age now, I generally have to make sure Crystal comes with me or take a niece, because a grown man in a cartoon movie by himself, a little creepy. A little bit creepy. I'm like, my kids or nieces and nephews was there, and I see the grown man, I'm like, hey man, make sure there's about 10 rows between you and him. I'm not saying adults can't watch cartoons or like cartoons. It's just going to a movie theater by yourself to watch a children's movie. A little weird. A little bit.
Anyway, yeah. So. Either way, I do 100% say if you have not seen Lilo and Stitch, I recommend that. Get Disney Plus. It's a lovely time.
Dude, I've been stretching my Disney Plus legs, watched all 3 Cars movies, watched National Treasure 1 and 2 this week. So, yeah, I'm not saying go out and get Disney Plus. I'm not that guy, because it is what it is. But I've really enjoyed it lately.
Yeah, I will say, though, Cars 2 is your favorite Pixar movie. A little skeptical about that.
No, I never said Cars 2. Cars is my favorite Pixar movie. The Cars series.
Either way.
I do love Cars 2, but Cars is my favorite Pixar movie, and I love the Cars series. I never would have said Cars 2, because Cars 2 is clearly the worst of the Cars movies. But
but Wall-E though. But come on, dude.
But Tow Mater though. Tow Mater, the greatest Pixar character ever. I identify with Mater more than anyone.
We're not going down this road. Let me try to steer this a little bit on track. Again, this is all things elite, an AEW podcast, not a Disney podcast. I'll start that some other time. But real quick, before we get into the show, I want to apologize for last week for no episode. There was a technical issue apparently that caused my audio to not record on Floyd's side. I have no idea what happened. We don't know what came about it. It was my, I'm not going to say the name of the program because I'm not trying to bury him, because it's been good for me for 6 years. But the program that we used to record, literally it didn't beep. I remember telling you it didn't beep at the beginning, but I was like, oh, it'll be fine. Well, no, the beep seems to be very important, because it literally just recorded me and not you. Yeah. So either way, we want to apologize. We're picking up from where we were supposed to. We're covering AEW for this week, but we want to thank you guys so much for sticking with us. And we're gonna cover All Elite Wrestling Dynamite for the last week of July. And before we do that too, I want to make sure you know that support for All Things Elite is brought to you by Manscaped, who is the best in men's below the belt grooming. Manscaped offers precision-engineered tools for your family jewels. They obsess over their technology developments to provide you the best tools for your grooming experience. If you use the code SUPLEX, or social, it's SUPLEX, yes. If you use the code SUPLEX, you can get 20% off your purchase and free shipping. So you get both for one. And
yes.
Floyd has great experiences with these guys as well.
Yes. I used this last week, but since you didn't hear it, I get to use it this week too. Probably shouldn't have said that. You would have never known. But yes, I you know how when you get in your suit, you're like going to church, a wedding, wherever you go, and you put on your suit, and it's all like non-wrinkled. You got your shirt, and you got your towel, and you look in the mirror, and you're like, damn, I'm clean. And you walk around, and you're standing a little straighter. You got a little strut going on. That's what Manscaped is for your balls. I tell you, when you get clipped up and you put the deodorant on and the revitalizer and you're smelling good and you're smelling fresh, you're going to walk a little taller. You're going to, strut a little bit. When you see that a woman or man that you're into, whatever you're into, you look them in the eye and you're going to be like, you know what's up, because you just feel better. It's like a tuxedo for your balls. So just think about that when you buy that. And you know what? You get 20% off and free shipping. So if you want to add a little strut to your life, go ahead and get you some Manscaped.
Yep. Thank you again to Manscaped for supporting the podcast. And if you want to make sure that you are downloading this fine show, be sure to do that on Google or Apple Podcasts. Please leave a rating and a review. And if you are also so inclined to do, you can also leave a donation through our podcast provider, Red Circle. And be sure to support us by following us on social media. We are at AT Elite Pod on Twitter. Be sure to follow Social Suplex at Social Suplex. Myself, you can follow me at SZoomer4. And then Floyd, you can follow at Floyd Johnson Jr. And that's all on Twitter. Now, the big news of the week that we learned on this episode of AEW Dynamite was the rules of the AEW Women's Tag Team Cup Tournament, the Deadly Draw. They were announced for the show. They announced the rules and explained what the whole thing was. So, Floyd, would you be so inclined as to share the rules for this tournament?
As I am staring at All Elite Wrestling's Twitter, because when I was doing the notes, they didn't really tell what part of the show this was in, so I didn't remember. So the tournament is a random draw. All competitors must draw a color. Matching colors will become a team. Selections are final and cannot be appealed. Now, so in the segment I'll explain the segment because I don't remember where it happened in the show. We found out Nyla Rose drew and she got purple. And then she was informed that purple had already been drawn. And we found out purple belonged to Arian Andrews, formerly Cameron in the WWE. So it looks like she has a working relationship with AEW. I don't know if she signed or not. They didn't do the welcome, put the All Things Elite board with her welcome to All Things Elite. So she might just be in for a tryout. But she will be Nyla's partner. The opening matches will start on Dark Tuesday on YouTube, so not every match is going to be on television. Again, if you support women's wrestling, women's tag team wrestling, you want more women to have jobs, make sure you are tuning in to AEW Dark on Tuesday and supporting women's wrestling. Those numbers and counts need to go up. Those views need to go up because that is how they're going to determine how far they take this in the future. And again, if you end up eventually getting the AEW tag team titles, I know this is just the cup, but keep supporting them. Don't stop. Don't take your foot off the gas once you get what you want, because I believe this could be a very big part of the future. So, first team we got is Nyla Rose and Arian Andrews. Only problem I have with this, we are the proclivity for positivity, and I will watch every episode. The only problem I had in this is that this was built around Brandy and Allie as an established tag team, right? That's the story going into it. The reason they got this tournament is because Brandy and Allie were an established tag team and they were winning. Then they're doing a thing where they are doing a random draw. Now, if Allie and Brandy randomly end up on the same tag team, I ain't gonna buy it. I'm just saying, that just seems weird. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it seems like way too much of a coincidence.
Yeah, so it's just like, okay, if you like, Nyla couldn't find anyone that liked her, and then she just picked Arian, that would make sense. Like, hey, I can't find anyone in the company I haven't beat up. So I had to go outside the company and find somebody. That makes sense. So there have been talk online of people having a problem with Arian Andrews being being announced last night. Let me ask, are you familiar with her time as Cameron in the WWE?
Oh, sorry, say that again?
Were you familiar with her time as Cameron in the WWE as a part of the Funkadactyls?
Oh, of course. Of course.
Yes. I know some people aren't. She was in the WWE. I never thought she was that great of a wrestler. But I will tell everybody to hold your horses on getting excited and mad about Arian Andrews. Because in New Japan, a lot of times they will bring in people that you might not expect, and they will be this thing called the Pin Eater. Like, literally, I want to keep Nyla Rose strong, but her team's not going to win the tournament. I don't want Nyla Rose to get pinned, so I bring in this person. Basically, their job is to get pinned. And you can use it also as a tryout if they look good. So, don't get on the Arian Andrews hate bandwagon yet, because there's nothing to hate. I mean, it's like hating that lowrider guy for being on Dark. She hasn't really done anything yet. We don't know how they're going to use her yet.
Yeah. So I think it'll be just a matter of time before we see stuff like that and see what she can really do. But either way, I am still very excited for this tag team tournament. The cup itself looks really slick, and it's going to give us some interesting matches. And I'm going to be tuning in every single week to see what comes of this tournament. But anyways,
strongly advise everybody to watch it. I'm going to go into that every week. I'm telling you, I will tell anyone. I'm going to say that every week. Be prepared for it, because I'm driving home the fact that if you want women's wrestling, prove it. Watch it.
Exactly, yeah.
Don't be like, I haven't watched any match, but AEW should really get behind women's wrestling. They're a business. They're going to put out what people watch.
Yeah. Now, let's get into this week's AEW Dynamite. We opened up with the 5-on-5 tag team matchup between the Inner Circle and Best Friends and Orange Cassidy and Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus. And for an opening battle, I thought this was a pretty solid matchup. There was a point in the match, however, where Luchasaurus's mask got knocked clean off of his head, and he was struggling for a little bit to get that mask on. And I was wondering, because I always wonder that with somebody who has like a mask that looks like it's kind of like Velcroed on, and it's got like a clear front that could easily be kicked over to the side. It's not like a luchador mask where it just like slides onto your head. It's got like a part that kind of juts out. I was wondering if there was going to be a point where his mask got knocked off his head, and this was the moment. So,
yeah, I've never even seen it slightly move. So this is.
He must have it like crazy tight on.
Yeah. I've never even seen it slightly move. It seems like a lot like his face. Whoever made it or whoever designed it perfectly for him. Because this is the first time I've seen it moved. I know some people might watch it closer to me and they'd be like, "Well, it happened this time." Okay, you're right. I've never seen it move. So, and then Jim Ross calls it out, and it's like, this is uncomfortable. And I felt like, and that brings me to another thing, as our resident commentary expert, I felt it was kind of off tonight.
Yeah, well, first of all, the commentary team was Taz, Tony Schiavone, and Jim Ross, which is why it surprises me why it was so off, because I mean, these guys are well established in the business, and they've been around each other before. So the fact that it felt kind of off was kind of surprising to me.
Yeah, because Excalibur's missed shows before when COVID first happened. It didn't feel this off.
I don't know. It was weird. It seemed like just like I said, like not a lot of cohesion in the calls. It didn't seem like everybody was like on the same page when they were calling spots. It seemed like just spots were getting called, and then there's just some kind of off moments. Yeah, and you wouldn't think of it with three veterans like these guys, especially with Jim Ross, but it's just it's a bit surprising. It's not really concerning because everyone has an off night, but for all three of them to kind of have an off night was a bit surprising.
I imagine, because as far as I know, Excalibur did fly in for the show and they pulled him off. Just so people don't think we're running away from it, on Tuesday, a video surfaced from 2007 PWG show. Excalibur was running a program with this guy named Human Tornado and another guy, and he said the N-word. And he said it twice, right? It was a racially charged program, and he called him the N-word. He was definitely at the show. He was in character, but he called him N-word. Shouldn't have happened. He's apologized many times since then. This video has been out a lot since then. Kevin Owens was in the video. He said it too. Doesn't make it any better or worse. It's just he said it too. Again, when Kevin Owens hit the main roster, this video came out. I have to think AEW was aware of it. He has apologized. I've gotten more color on it since then. I found out the Human Tornado, of course, was black. He was the person writing the show, and he basically convinced them to say this word. I am not taking any blame off of them. They're still grown men. They still made the choice to say the word. But I just giving you, adding a little color to the story. And then he said that. I'm thinking AEW just took the cautious so the show wouldn't take away from the wrestlers. They just went ahead and took him off this week. I'm hoping he returns, because unlike with the Sammy thing, which, again, we don't talk about the negative stuff a lot. Unlike with the Sammy thing, they didn't know about the Sammy thing before they hired him. Everyone knew about the Excalibur thing before they hired him. So, it's like, you made a decision. I don't know. I can't tell you what AEW should do. It's their company. I can't tell you what Tony should do. If it was for me, I had a friend say he should have just addressed it in the first minute of the show, made a public apology, says, I've apologized many times since then, but again, I shouldn't have said the word, and then moved on from there. But taking them off of the show for a week, I don't blame them from happening. I will ask Austin, and we will move on from this very quickly, but do you have any thoughts on what should have been done?
I mean, like I said, this happens, it's almost a guarantee that, if you did something back in the day that may have been not either way, saying the N-word, if you're not a person of color, there's no real excuse for that. Even with the time period, it's just, there's really no excuse for that. And we've become a lot more aware of what is socially acceptable nowadays. So stuff like this ends up coming up a lot, of people's past being brought out and then being shown off as people just this gets resurfaced, and then all of a sudden they could be facing a lot of trouble.
Yeah,
it's uncomfortable. It's not great to watch. Now, I think somebody should lose their job over something that happened over 10 years ago. I don't
that
really know
their job was aware of.
And they were very much aware of it. Exactly.
Yeah, it's not like Excalibur hid it. It's like they were aware of this. That's the big thing with me. That's where the difference lies. They know he said this, and they still had him front and center on their program. So it's just me personally, like I said, it's just, I have a thought, and not everybody's going to agree with it. I don't expect everybody to agree with it. If it's said in the course of character work or in work, I don't generally have a problem with it. I know I'm going to get buried. People are going to hate me. But I watch Quentin Tarantino movies. And I watch old slave movies. I watch Civil War movies. And I compare wrestling to TV and movies. Some of you may see it as real sport, which is, you might want to compare it to real sport. But I've always said wrestling is my male soap opera. And I compare it to TV and movies more than anything. And if you do TV and movies and you say the word, you're the bad guy and you say the word because you're playing a racist, right? When you stop playing that character from the show, you're not racist anymore, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's how it works. It's just you're playing a character. You're saying what that character would have said. Excalibur was booked as a wrestler. The guy that writes the show said, I want you to say this word. From what I understand, from what I read on the internet, he didn't want to, but the guy's like, say the word. It's going to get heat, and he did. I can forgive that because you were just doing your job. But again, not everyone's going to agree with me. I happen to be African American. I want to make it very clear. I do not speak for all African Americans. I only speak for Floyd. Some people are going to have a huge problem that he ever used that word, and they definitely have the right to feel that way. And I am not going to try to take that away from him. But let's get past this very uncomfortable conversation and talk about the 10-man tag. The reason I wanted to bring it up is because I think he's the person that keeps a lot of this in line as far as the 10-man tags. Excalibur calls the moves. He gives you color on people's past. And when JR is going off cranky JR and Taz is going off cranky Taz, he works like Austin does for me. And he pulls it back to that conversation. And he keeps it focused on the action in the ring. And I truly think he was missing in this match. I often talk about that the first match sets the tone for the whole Dynamite. You know what? I'm telling you, if you go back and think about the Dynamites that you thought weren't an A, you will notice the first match wasn't great. This first match, they did everything and they could, and they, did all the moves, but it just didn't have that first match feel. I don't know if you agree.
Yeah, I mean, me personally, and it's got nothing to do with everybody there. I'm not a huge fan of multi-man matches starting off like an episode of, like, whether it be Raw or an episode of Dynamite. I'm just not a massive fan of a multi-man match starting off the show, just because, like, I like the idea of a big, like, either a singles or a big tag match starting off the show, and then we kind of just move on throughout the show. A multi-man match starting off doesn't really get me, like, enriched into a show, like, immediately as I watch it. Like, say that, like I honestly, if they would have swapped Cody and Warhorse, I would have been totally fine with that decision with booking. I think it would have been way more engaging and got me really into the show way more.
It's funny because 2 weeks ago with Cody and Sonny Kiss, I said, well, they should have switched it with the multi-man match that was later, and it's like now it's like, and that should tell people want to think booking's easy. It's not. It's not easy. Not. It's a feel. It's a energy you don't necessarily know. You know what the result of the match is going to be, but you don't know necessarily, the feel and how it's going to go. So it's like one week I said Cody, being my favorite wrestler, didn't have the energy for the first match. It should have been switched. And now this week we're saying, oh, well, maybe Cody should have went first. Because I think if the show started boom, boom, explosion with Warhorse's rock music and him coming out with his fingers up and banging his head, I think that's how you start a show.
Yeah, I agree.
I thought that was going to be the start of the show. So, yeah. I don't know. Yeah, that leads us into the next match.
Yes, we now have the open challenge for the TNT Dynamite Championship for this week. Cody, the American Nightmare, the champion, defending his title against hot indie wrestler Warhorse. And I was really looking forward to this matchup, and I think it was a really, really solid matchup. I have not seen a ton of Warhorse, so being able to see him like actually go in the ring was a big up for me because I haven't seen a lot of his work, and he's got a great look. He's got a great like vibe to him. I really like his character. The work in the ring was really good. The figure four, I like how Cody is using the figure four as a legitimate finish too. Honestly, I really like it. And I had no real quarrel with this matchup. I thought it was just completely solid. Nothing like outstandingly stood out to me, but I felt like it was a great, solid TNT Championship match. And it was great to see Warhorse on Dynamite.
Okay, so now this is probably the most I'm going to say about anything. Warhorse has been in my head for about 3 weeks. Now, sometimes expectations can either help something or ruin something. I've always liked when I don't have expectations of a movie and I go see the movie and it's amazing. But I also have went to see movies that people have told me is the greatest movie ever, and because they have set that standard, when I saw the movie and it wasn't the greatest thing ever, probably made me dislike it more. Well, for the last 3 weeks, I've been hearing how awesome Warhorse is, how amazing Warhorse is, how he's going to change everything in the world. Warhorse rules ass. That's what I've been hearing. And every time my good friend, one of my best friends, Tiffany, posts anything about Cody, Warhorse fears Cody. Cody fears Warhorse. Warhorse rules ass. So he comes out. I've kind of seen his face, but I see the whole look. Again, I'm gonna give you a shot, but in my eyes, if you ever heard of a WCW wrestler from back in the day named Renegade, he looked like Renegade. Like, actually a poor man's Renegade, because Renegade is jacked and he wasn't. He just kind of looked like a dude in face paint. Now, people might be like, oh, you're hating on him. I'm not. I had no experience with Warhorse. I purposely did not go look up YouTube videos because I wanted to experience him for the first time like a lot of other people have. So he comes out in a fire and they give him promo and he's headbanging. I was like, oh, so he's a rock character. That's his thing. All right, cool. All right, I get this. Then the match starts. I don't hate him. I don't hate him. I don't love him. Actually, I have no emotions for him. If I had saw that match, and then you never said anything again, if I hadn't had all the build before, I'd be like, he's a cool, he's all right wrestler or whatever. But because I was told how great he was, I was waiting on the spectacular thing. There was nothing spectacular. He did a really good clothesline. He did a double. I watched this match twice and kind of wrote down things because I was going to say, I'm going to say good things about Warhorse. That double stump he did from the outside onto Cody's back, pretty smooth. He did an elbow. His mat ring work where he was supposed to be like reversing Cody and stuff like that, thought it looked a little sloppy. Again, him and Cody wrestling for the first time, I give him the benefit of the doubt. But there was nothing about the experience that made me say, sign Warhorse. And if you don't think I was rooting for him to be successful, you don't know me. I am the most positive. I want everyone to succeed. I wanted to be blown away by Warhorse. I wanted to put all caps, Warhorse rules ass. I was kind of reverse trolling some of the Warhorse fans online, saying his 14 minutes of his 15 minutes of fame. It was fun for me. I was just kind of getting back at some of the people that had trolled Tiffany. I am not above petty. I'm not. But, I was like, I wanted to be impressed. I wasn't. Now, I went to Social Suplex is whose network we're on, and I went to our little chat, and everyone felt the same. Do you know the amount of different personalities we have in the Social Suplex Podcast Network, it's a lot. Do you know how many times we've 100% agreed on anything? Never. 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 We all 100% agreed. And it was like, and we'll even say, it made it worse that we were told how great he was, and then he came out, and I was like, let me ask, you watched the match. Did he do anything to you that was special?
Me, like, no. Not like I said, it wasn't anything outlandish. It was solid, but it wasn't anything like crazy, like, oh my God.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. It's not, again, I want to people, this is not jump on Warhorse, bury Warhorse Day. No, this is not. This is like, he didn't live up to the hype that was brought to me by his fan base. Is that his fault? No. Is that his fan base fault? No, because they're supposed to be fans of him. That is, as a fan, I say Cody's the greatest wrestler ever. Do anybody agree? Does anyone agree with me? Most of the times, no. Me and Tiffany, kind of our own team there. So, I get it. But the fact is, Cody, in this match, did everything he could to make Warhorse look good. Warhorse controlled 80% of the match. Did everything he could to make him look good. And he just didn't. He just looked like a wrestler. He looked like generic wrestler number 12 or whatever. And I have, like I said, there's no ill will towards Warhorse. I'm actually going to a show at the end of August that Warhorse is going to be at. I plan on meeting Warhorse. And I'm hoping he gets another shot, work his way on Dark. I hope, Jim Ross and Tony and Cody took him to the back and say, hey, this is what you can work on, or they may have loved him, I don't think like they do, but they may have loved him, or he just might work better in front of a crowd. I've had all these thoughts today because I didn't want to come on here and bury somebody. I really didn't. It's not what I do. It's just, I'm going to be honest about my opinion. And my opinion was,
I mean, there's nothing really else we can say about that. Like I said, I thought it was fine. I didn't think there was anything bad in it. And Floyd just finds it kind of That's our thoughts.
So the big moment from this is after the match.
Yep.
John Silver, Alex Reynolds, they come out to attack. Oh, my boy Cody. And because Cody's about to shake hands with Warhorse, right? Yeah, so
yep, he is about to shake hands.
And he's about to shake hands with him, and they jump him. And then Warhorse pushes Cody out the way and tries to take him on. Gotta give him, anytime you protect Cody, that's a point in my book. And then you see a guy from the back, and he has his shirt on. He said, "Wait a minute, is that?" And it was Matt Cardona, the former Zack Ryder. I was just, and he takes off the shirt, and you can tell people that know how to work out, and they get all this time of being at home and just being able to work out and work on his look. He had worked on his look. He looked super huge. He comes out and he hands out the Rough Rider, but it's not the Rough Rider anymore. It's called the Radio Silence, which is his leg drop lariat move. And he hits it on both Silver and Reynolds. And then him and Cody celebrate together. I personally, this is where I'm going to differ with a lot of people. I was stoked that Matt Cardona showed up. I was a big Zack Ryder fan. All the times that they tried to push him or gave him pushes and stopped him in the WWE. I think he is an amazing self-promoter. I think he brings so much to AEW. First of all, AEW kind of started from BTE, an internet show. Zack Ryder, Long Island Story, or
Z True Long Island Story, yep.
Kind of started that whole get yourself over on the internet thing, and he did that. So parallels with Zack Ryder and the company. Second of all, AEW releases figures on Monday. Hey, what kind of podcast does Zack Ryder do?
Oh yeah, it's wrestling figures.
Yes. So, and he has this huge following. It's one of the more popular podcasts on the internet. People that don't even like wrestling figures listen to it because Zach's good at that. So, what do you think he might be pushing on his podcast for people to go buy?
Maybe the brand new AEW figures that are launching at Walmart on Monday.
Yes. Zack Ryder has 2.2 million followers on Twitter, 1.8 million followers on Instagram. If 10% of those people tune in for the show, AEW averages over 1 million viewers a week. It's just, he might not have been a world champion in WWE. He was tag team champions, but he might not have been a world champion in WWE, but he did on his own. He developed an amazing following that's pretty much larger than anybody's in AEW's, save for like Chris Jericho. It's literally Chris Jericho and then Zack Ryder. I've looked at the numbers. He has a huge online presence. So if those online people come to watch Zack Ryder wrestle, whoo. So I'm just like, you want to talk about mutually beneficial deals? Matt Cardona, man, that's a mutually beneficial deal. I'm going to shut up now and hear your thoughts on Mr. Cardona showing up.
Dude, it's pretty much the same. I love Zack Ryder. I thought he was great every time he got the push and then just hit the ceiling and then got shoved back down the card. Broke my heart. I thought the dude just defied all logic. Because this was back in, 2012. The fact that a guy, could get over on the internet like he did, even though, despite YouTube wasn't even the thing it was back in 2012 that it is nowadays. It's not even close. The gap between that is huge, and the fact that he was able to get that over. People forget that one of the biggest pops of, I want to say it was WrestleMania 20. Oh God, was it WrestleMania 28 or 29? When Zack Ryder won the Intercontinental Championship ladder match.
Oh, that was at WrestleMania 32. Because I was at that
32. Yeah, that's right. Because it was in Dallas. That's right.
And I think that was Cody's last WrestleMania.
I think it might have been too.
Yeah, it was Cody's last WrestleMania.
That was one of the biggest pops of the entire show.
Yes.
That was years after he had his mega push with the Z-True Long Island Story. I don't even think the show was still going on YouTube anymore at that point.
He is one of the more beloved wrestlers, because everybody, even the people that aren't smart or whatever, knew that he was bigger, that he was more popular and bigger than the push. I remember when I went back to WrestleMania, and this was 30, and this was still long after his push. You saw people still wearing Zack Ryder shirts, still saying woo woo woo. His autograph lines were one of the longest, because people love Zack Ryder. I'm I got a lot of pushback because I was excited about this, and but I'll just tell you right now, this is 24 hours later, and this is on Thursday. We're recording on Thursday. That's the day we're going to record from now on. Matt Cardona's debut on AEW, YouTube views, 448,000 views. The next video was something that happens later in the show, and it was at 248,000 views. You tell me Matt Cardona doesn't bring eyes to the product.
That's as simple as that. I mean, hell yeah. I'm so glad he's here, and I'm very excited to see what he does. We have information on what his first match in AEW is going to be, and we'll get to that very shortly. We then had Tony Schiavone talking to the Inner Circle, and Chris Jericho and Sammy Guevara specifically interrupted him. Sammy Guevara swears, calls Matt Hardy a son of a bitch for interfering in the match and costing him in the Inner Circle. Says he's going to get him back. Jericho also says he's not finished with Orange Cassidy, and that in 2 weeks' time we get the rematch, Jericho versus Orange Cassidy. And next week we're going to have a 2020 debate between Orange Cassidy and Chris Jericho with a special guest moderator who's going to be there. So that'll be quite interesting, because get it? Politics are kind of happening now. I bet it's hard to tell I bet you didn't even realize that sort of thing was happening nowadays.
Yeah, because we got a debate and we got something else later that was very politically charged. The Chris Jericho OC debate. I'm kind of excited for. More excited for the rematch, but kind of excited for the debate. I like to see what happens. You know,
should be quite funny.
And it's funny. Like next week, basketball's back on Wednesdays. Baseball's going to be back. This is the first time.
Basketball just came back tonight.
Yeah, it's coming back tonight. Actually, going to start. My game is going to be watching my game right after this. But yeah, so you got all of that coming back next week, and you got to try to draw eyes and keep them on AEW. And they got the debate thing, and they actually next week's a pretty hot lineup. So I'm looking forward to this. And Jericho can sell me on anything. Literally, he could steal my wallet and sell it back to me. He's just Jericho, and he's amazing at that.
Yep. We then had another backstage segment, specifically. FTR was with Tony Schiavone, and they were with their lawyer to sign their contract, and they had a few details they had to go over. They then call in the tag team specialist and head coach for Cody Rhodes, Arn Anderson, to check the finer points of the deal. They make sure that August 12th, per Tony Khan, that episode of Dynamite will be Tag Team Appreciation Night hosted by FTR.
I'm hoping we get to see the Rock and Roll Express that night.
Hell's fucking yeah. Lawyer confirms it's in there. They sign it, and then Hangman comes in and pours some whiskey for the boys and takes a hell of a freaking shot with them. Literally fills up the entire shot glass. Hangman's a crazy motherfucker. But this is a cool segment. Again, it continues the friendship sort of that's going on with FTR and Hangman Adam Page, and it's one of my favorite things that's happening is just seeing the change that's happening with Hangman and the Inner Circle and Kenny Omega. It's one of my favorite things that's happening on Dynamite.
I'm seeing Hangman as I know he buys cheap whiskey. I found out that during that little segment. He's like, man, this is cheap. And they couldn't drink it, but Hangman's just downing it like it's nothing. So tag ropes will be used in FTR matches. That was part of their contract. There will be strict enforcement of the 10 count. So still got the AEW 10 count, but they're going to actually enforce it. Of course, the Tag Team Wrestling Appreciation Night. And then they had a secret. Arn put up his paper and he whispered. And he's like, did you get that in there? And he's like, yep, Tony promised us. I guarantee you hear it here first. That's a tag team title shot.
Please, yes.
Yeah, so I think they get to skip the line. And as part of their contract, they get to skip the line. And they get a tag team title shot against Hangman and Omega. Hangman likes them more than he likes Omega, but he likes being champion too. He'll whip both their asses. So I don't know. I would love to, there's a lot of strings going a lot of different ways in this company, and it kind of starts with FTR. So I'm just looking forward to going for I'm looking forward to how these strings are going to get pulled going forward.
I as well. We then had the AEW World Tag Team Championship match between the champions Kenny Omega and Hangman Adam Page versus the Dark Order's Evil Uno and Stu Grayson, with Colt Cabana on commentary for the match, with Mr. Brody Lee and Anna Jay standing oh so closely to Colt. Just like Anna Jay was literally right behind the commentary desk, and love that addition.
I love that her mask is different.
I do like that too. I like that they made the change. The match overall, I thought was another pretty good match. Okay. I felt like most of the wrestling on this show was all right, in my opinion. I didn't think anything was outrageously insane. I did have a lot of cool things I wanted to talk about in the main event, which I will get to. But this match, I thought, again, solid. I don't think anybody went into this match thinking that Evil Uno and Stu Grayson was going to pick up the victory. But what I did like, again, was after the match, I very much intrigued. Mr. Brody Lee quickly sends Colt and Anna Jay to the back. Doesn't want them to see anything. The papers get thrown at Stu and Evil Uno, which is still so fucking funny. I love it so much. Then the Young Bucks get in the ring as Brody Lee is going off, saying like, Kenny, it's so nice of you to show up for Hangman for once. It's so glad that Hangman for once has his friends with him. Young Bucks get inside. Brody Lee gets mad. And then has Dark Order members swarm the Elite. And they're teaming up on them before FTR once again gets another ice cooler and throws it at Brody Lee. And then the odds get even, and then everyone chases him outward. I thought the afterwards was the best part of the match. I didn't think there was anything bad in the match, but I thought it was just all right. We've been spoiled for a lot of great wrestling matches from AEW in the past, and today was just kind of on an offer night for me personally.
Yeah, thought it was a good tag team match. I actually love Evil Uno and Stu. I love what they do. Uno moves very well for a man that big. Stu always brings the intensity. I think they were storytelling in this match. It was about the growing dissension between Hangman and Kenny Omega. Because of the storytelling of the match, I really think they didn't, just go super all out in the match. I thought it was a good match. I thought it was the standard of an AEW tag match, but I feel like it was on the lower standard, not the higher standard. So it's like, it wasn't great, but it was still good, and I think it was all to get to the story of what happened after the match. So I thought that was, like I said, the match was pretty good. Have you talked about what happened after the match yet? Did you say?
I did, yes.
Okay, so sorry, my brain breaks. Yeah. So when they came out, and then the Young Bucks come in the ring with them, and then FTR come in the ring, and it's like, okay, now it's like, FTR is being nice to the Young Bucks, FTR is being nice to Hangman. This is awesome. And so after the Donnybrook and they save him, Hangman's like, I kind of like FTR more than I like you, and it's cool, and then you saw like a thing that they posted, and they had chocolate milks. Kenny and the Bucks have chocolate milks, and then Hangman and FTR have beers, and that was pretty funny. But yeah, thought the segment was cool. It was a lot tonight, and I think people should take this going forward. Tonight was about driving along stories, getting ready for All Out. It wasn't. I mean, I know everybody wants great wrestling, and don't get me wrong, that's I like it too, but All Out, that's where they make their money. That's the pay-per-view. So you have to move your storylines forward.
Yeah, I mean, I have nothing more to add to that. We're going to get into the next matchup and the next small segment, but I just want to inform Floyd, because it is his team, and we're going to go a little bit off just for a small second. I want to inform Floyd, this happened about 20 minutes ago, so I don't know if he knows about it, but former Kansas City Chief LaShawn McCoy has reached a one-year agreement with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Yes, I saw that. I'm happy for LaShawn that he found a team, because if you went over from the Chiefs, he was on our team through the season, but he actually, after the first game of the playoffs, he wasn't on our playoff roster.
That is true, yeah.
Yeah, we kind of, left him at home. Damian Williams was the guy, so I'm happy he found somewhere to play. Andy Reid, he carries the ball weird, and he fumbles when he carries the ball, so it was kind of like, that kind of thing. But shout out to LaShawn. Congrats on going to Tampa Bay. I don't want you to win any games, because I am a Jameis Winston. I'm a Jameis Winston fan. After Kansas City and my Patrick Mahomes loyalty, I root for the team Jameis Winston is on. And since Tampa Bay,
So you root for Philly then?
So since Tampa Bay just, exiled Jameis Winston and then got all this talent for Tom Brady, I'm kind of like, screw Tampa Bay. Why would I root for Philly? Didn't
they get
New Orleans Saints, sir?
No, Saints, damn it. Sorry. I messed that up.
Yes, Jameis Winston, New Orleans Saints jersey, and a Patrick Mahomes jersey are on the way to Floyd.
Okay, cool.
I buy every jersey Jameis Winston has, because he brought national championship back to Florida State, so he's kind of like the greatest.
There you go. All right. Moving on, we had Dr. Britt Baker, who said that she was going to give Big Swole a shot at herself, but only if she could defeat an opponent of Britt Baker's choosing, and how they would most likely fight at All Out. So that
the obvious choice would obviously be Reba, because she's with Dr. Britt Baker, but I think it should be Abaddon.
Yes.
Basically Teddy Longtime, whenever he got pissed at you, you had to wrestle the Undertaker. So she is pissed.
You got to wrestle Abaddon.
You got to wrestle Abaddon. And it's just like, that would be awesome because, Abaddon hates everybody.
There you go. We then had the AEW Women's World Champion Hikaru Shida taking on Diamante, who picked up a big victory last week, actually. I love seeing Hikaru Shida, and Diamante strikes me as someone who has a lot of potential, and it was a good, solid matchup, and it was a good performance for Shida. Shida was able to hit that standing vertical suplex and then running knee strike to get the pin on Diamante. Again, thought it was solid, thought it was all right, and don't really have much else I want to add to this match unless, Floyd, you have anything you would like to add?
I would like to add, That was my whole feeling of the match.
Pretty much, yeah. It was just kind of one of those filler matches, I think, for Dynamite, and you have them occasionally. Again, deadly draw, the Women's World Cup, Women's Tag Team Cup Tournament. The rules got explained on the show. We then had the State of the Industry address from MJF, who walked out first from backstage with posters all around the wall, going full politician mode, had posters of himself that said, "We deserve better." He thanked Tony Khan for the opportunity to speak for a significant amount of time. He talked about how a certain individual is afraid of being upstaged by him, the AEW World Heavyweight Champion Jon Moxley. And MJF, once again, touts about still being undefeated, how he talked about how AEW was supposed to be promising changing the wrestling business, but we have a wrestler who came from the land of Titans who is holding the top title, and a guy like MJF has gotten nothing at all. He compared him to a dictator, said, "My talent outweighs your tenure." He challenges Jon Moxley for the world title, says he'll see him at All Out, and says, "We deserve better." This was great. This was really, really good.
Yes, Cody announced today, and you'll see where I'm going with this, that he was starting a wrestling school on September 21st. The Nightmare Factory was going to start doing classes. Well, if one of those classes is promo classes, MJF should be teaching those.
Yes.
Because this dude, you was like, hey, where's it going? Why are you bringing up Cody doing this? No, MJF is a master of this. I watched it again today in its entirety, as I do most of the show. Every week I watch it twice. But it was just like, I was completely captivated like it was the first time. It was perfect heel work. Of course, you're going to tell fabrications of the truth during it. Of course, you're going to take things that look innocent and twist them. And he just... if you listen to this, if this was your first segment of AEW ever, you would think Mox was the heel. You would. That's a masterclass in promos. The thing about heels is they don't know that they're heels. In their eyes, they're the good guy, and everybody else is horrible. And this was perfectly done in his dickish manner. The kissing of the babies, the handshaking with the guy he doesn't like, and the subtle looks that he gave after he did those actions. It's so good. I'm like, seriously, MJF and Mox, if this was me and this was me writing it, would not touch each other until All Out. They would, avoid each other, because with Moxley's intense, badass promos and MJF's snarky asshole promos, oh my god, they could sell a match without ever actually touching each other.
Oh yeah. It's like, there's that's the case with them. It's like, you really don't need to have physical interactions with these two in order to sell your matchup, because just them verbally assaulting each other is all you need to build a hot title match. It's like sometimes less is more. And honestly, just having these guys cut promos on each other and just going back and forth with each other is the best way to build towards this matchup. So I 100% agree with you, and this was one of my favorite things on the show.
And I was gonna say, it was my favorite thing on the show. It was my favorite thing on the show. I mean, I loved Cardona showing up, and I thought the main event was good, but the best part of the show was MJF.
Yeah, there you go. We then have the main event, the no DQ tornado tag match between AEW World Champ Jon Moxley and my boy Darby Allin versus the FTW champion Brian Cage, The Machine, and Ricky Starks, both accompanied by Taz. We opened with Darby's music, but no entrance from Darby. Moxley then comes out by himself to the ring to his music. Taz talks about how, like, oh, where's your partner? And, oh, we beat the living hell out of him last week, so he can't wrestle. They start having Ricky Starks cut a promo backstage. Then they walk out until off the entrance tunnel comes Darby Allin with a coffin drop. And then everything breaks loose. Tons of double teaming. Chairs getting chucked at people's heads. Trash can was used. There was a point where they double team Mox onto the garbage can. Then, of course, the finish came when Ricky Starks was the poor victim to that thumbtack-riddled skateboard of Darby Allin's, right on his back, and just cut him up. Like, oh my God, that just beat his ass up. That was all you needed. Darby Allin got the pin, and Moxley held the World Heavyweight Championship. We then got confirmed that next week on AEW Dynamite, Jon Moxley will defend the title against Darby Allin. Hell fucking yes.
Yes.
100% for this.
Yes, this match was great. I do want to point out that Ricky Starks cut an excellent promo.
He did.
Before they came out. The future of promos with MJF and Ricky Starks are in good hands. Darby Allin's crazy, because apparently he got a concussion at the last taping, which was 2 weeks ago. So it's like, hey, he's all gas, no break. I give it to him. The match, tornado tag, it was what it was. It wasn't great or whatever. But that ending with the skateboard and the tax, there's something in wrestling called a receipt. I feel like that was a receipt for that concussion that, that Ricky Starks gave.
Oh, I mean, if that was, I mean, literally, if that's what you want to call it, that's probably the biggest receipt I've ever fucking seen.
Yeah, so he takes it and he gets the pin. You saw videos after of how bleeding and backed up, bleeding and messed up Ricky Starks' back was. That was crazy.
If you want the comparison, look at Cody when he got planted on thumbtacks last week, and then compare it to that thumbtack riddled skateboard that was thrown on Ricky Starks. Just the fact that with that skateboard and the way that it landed, it just grinded up his back and just sliced it. Not just like went into his back, but sliced it up.
Yeah, it's kind of amazing how that happened, and that, wrestlers are a different breed. The fact that they would let people do that to them is the craziest shit in the world. But yes, shout out to him. The match ended. We got Darby and Mox for next week. For some reason, I don't think that match is. See, and you know what? And that's my WWE brain kicking in, and not. WWE, you would say, okay, they're doing Mox versus Darby. There's no way it's going to end clean. But AEW's pretty good about the clean finishes, especially in title matches, so maybe it does end clean. Maybe Mox just beats him, but if this was any other company, I'd be like, okay, so Brian Cage and Ricky Starks or MJF, somebody's going to interrupt this match. Because first of all, I don't think Darby Allin should take another loss, but
I agree.
I don't know how this is going to work out. I'm looking forward to next week on that. But, yeah, overall, solid AEW. It's funny, Andy Nimity, he's at Andy Nimity on Twitter. He's a pretty popular account. But he's like, every week he says, how's every week the best episode of AEW? Very rarely he'll say, how is every episode of AEW Dynamite an episode of AEW Dynamite? That means he didn't think it was the best episode. And last night he did say that. And I was like, I thought this episode was really solid. I will say this all day, and I said this to my boy JR. If this is the bottom, if this is what a bad episode of Dynamite looks like, give it to me every week.
Yeah. I will take a bad episode of Dynamite over a horrendous episode of Monday Night Raw every single day of the week. Because it's just, honestly, and also I will say, for my personal thought, going into the Darby Allin versus Jon Moxley match, I would not be shocked if they actually decided to go with, well, actually, no, because it's a title match. I was going to say I wouldn't be surprised if they did a time limit draw, but because it's a title match, I don't think they'll go with that. Because, I don't know. So, yeah, I don't know how they'll do it either. I thought time limit, but then I was like, they're not going to do that for a title match. They don't do that.
Because time limit on the title match is an hour. So they're not going to go an hour.
An hour or for TV time remaining.
Yeah,
okay.
It'll
most likely main event the show.
Huh?
So, I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, Darby going move to move with the world champion would do a lot for him. I am not, like I said, I'm going to wait and see. To me, like, over the last year and a half, the AEW or whatever has been existing, I think year and 2 months, like, since their first show to this show, you would have told me that, well, we're 14 months in, no member of the Elite has been a world champion. Like the world champion, like the main champion. There's 2 members of the Elite have been tag team champions, but they aren't the Young Bucks. And Cody could never challenge for the world title again. I would have said, you are a fucking idiot. Why are you trying to bury this product? They have done all those things, and the product works.
Yeah.
And not only have they just assembled a very talented group of wrestlers, they probably assembled the best tag team division probably in my time watching wrestling, as far as, Proud and Powerful, former Impact champions, Lucha Bros, former Impact, AAA, MLW tag team champions, FTR, former NXT, WWE tag team champions. Young Bucks, I'm not going to list all the tag team championships they've had because I just don't got that amount of time. They killed it. And they got Mox away from WWE, and he is their world champion, which is a well-known name person as your world champion. Cody's supporting a new belt called the TNT title. That's amazing. And they got like a network deal for the next 4 years. So it's like, when you keep outdoing my expectations, I learned to just wait and see what you got next and just be entertained. It's like the Arian Andrews thing. Let's say this was NXT and they announced that. Oh my God, I'd shit on it. But I'm going to wait and see. Because you know why I'm going to wait and see? Because they keep proving if you do wait and see, they will deliver.
Yeah.
And if you do that, you buy my patience.
There you go. And that's Dynamite for this week, honestly. So again, it was an alright episode. If this is considered to be their bad episodes, then trust me, that we will be okay with this. And if this is the lowest of the lows, then like this is a good product. It'll show you that. So we're gonna get into the preview for next week's Dynamite. But before we do that, I want to let you know that this episode of All Things Elite is brought to you by PowerSlam TV. PowerSlam TV is where you get access to over 4,000 hours of content from over 110 of your favorite wrestling brands from countries all around the globe, right on your laptop and mobile devices, what you are carrying in your pocket. You can watch so much wrestling on PowerSlam TV with it. And if you use the code Social Suplex, you can watch all that wrestling for 1 whole month completely free. Your first month totally free. So thank you to PowerSlam TV for sponsoring All Things Elite and for supporting us. And be sure to go check them out and use that code because it really helps us out. Now, the preview for next week's Dynamite, the first Dynamite of August 2020. We have Cody and Matt Cardona. Matt Cardona's first match on AEW Dynamite. He is taking on Silver and Reynolds of the Dark Order with Cody. I think will be totally solid. It'll be great to see Matt Cardona, and it'll just be a great introduction to him. We have the AEW World Title match between Jon Moxley and Darby Allin. I have no idea how that's going to go, but I'm hoping for a lot of great stuff from them. I have high expectations because Darby Allin is one of my faves. Jon Moxley is one of my faves. I want something great, even if it comes at a non-finish. Just give me something that's understandable and it's believable, and just give me some good wrestling in between. We have the Elite and FTR teaming to face the Dark Order. It's a 6-on-6 match because it's Brody, Colt, Stu, Uno, Angels, and Preston Vance versus FTR. Then Kenny Omega, Hangman Adam Page, and the Young Bucks. So
too many people in one match.
It's a lot. It's too much.
But if I doubt the Young Bucks, every time I try to doubt them, they figure out a way to make it awesome. So
honestly, yeah, it's like as long as I was like, that's too many people in a match. But as long as the Elite's in it, and as long as the Young Bucks are in it, I have a little bit of my worries eased away. So I'm hoping they come through with it on that match. We have the Chris Jericho and Orange Cassidy 2020 debate, and then we have an update from MJF that will be happening. So overall, that's our preview going into next week's Dynamite.
One prediction from next week. Cardona turns on Cody.
That quick?
I think Cardona turns on Cody and joins the Dark Order. I think the promo turns out that he says Cody didn't get me a job here.
Mr. Brody Lee did.
Mr. Brody Lee did. And he announces his allegiance to the Dark Order. That sets up Cody versus Cardona at All Out.
You know what? For the TNT title, let's do it. Honestly,
yeah.
I would be surprised that it would be that quickly. However, heel Matt Cardona, heel Zack Ryder, I would be very interested to see.
Just think about Sean Spears. He signed, and he's like, oh man, that's Cody's best friend. His first act in AEW was hitting Cody with a chair. So Cody's not afraid to pull the trigger really quick on those things.
That's true. Honestly, it wasn't too long until Sean turned. So that is very true.
Yeah. So they do this stuff pretty quick. Cody needs a big match for the TNT title at the show. Matt Cardona turning heel would be a different take on his character. And joining the Dark Order, it would be completely different from what he was doing in the WWE. And I think that's important too, Matt, is that, people don't think of him as, just a WWE reject. He wants to set his own turning someone that was completely babyface for like almost all his years there to a heel. That would be smart. I think that would put a fresh coat of paint on Cardona. And going after Cody, of course, Cody needs somebody to wrestle for the TNT title, set that up for All Out. Last year, it was his best friend Spears at All Out. This year, it's one of his best friends, Cardona at All Out. That works. And with him turning, and this is me looking way forward, with him turning on him, Cody realizes he can't trust anyone, and that's when he forms the Four Horsemen.
Oh, yeah. You want to try to see if AEW's hiring writers? Because you might need to just make the jump if they are.
I'm just fantasy booking here. I am like, you know what? I honestly, the moment I actually get their storytelling style down, I'll be disappointed. Because I've done this and made these predictions, bold predictions, and literally have been wrong every time. So if I'm right this time, great. I will take it. I did not guess Cardona coming out doing the Warhorse match. Sorry to all the Warhorse fans. I know you felt like Cardona coming out kind of upstage Warhorse, and that did suck, but it did make for a pretty awesome moment. But hopefully Warhorse gets another chance. I don't know how AEW feels about it. I'm not an insider. I don't ever claim to be. I'm just someone that watches the program like you. He might get signed next week. Who knows?
Yep.
Yeah, it's like we don't know.
We have no idea, but we'll see if we see more of Warhorse down the line.
Yeah, they haven't done a dark preview, so that's why we're not doing a dark.
No, they have not done one yet.
Yeah,
because we're recording this we've changed our recording schedule to be a lot more earlier.
Yes.
So.
Yes. Yes, I'm very excited about this.
Yeah, but anyway, that's going to do it for this episode of All Things Elite. Thank you guys so much for listening. Real quick, actually, because I wanted to bring this up to Floyd, because I have a friend of mine who is in the world of broadcasting in the state of Michigan. His name's Ryan, and he's a good friend of mine. I interned with them, and I got to learn a lot from him. But I found out he was a wrestling fan. And I want to give, because I believe I'm going to be trying to hop on his little podcast he does with his friends very soon. He's an older guy, and I want to throw by these takes on Floyd and just kind of hear his thoughts about him, because I'm going to go into his show as a younger generation's thoughts about wrestling nowadays, because they are a lot older than I am. But I want to let Floyd know about these takes. So you down hearing these real quick before we sign off?
A special surprise segment. I'll take it all day.
Yeah. All right. So I want to let you know about the stuff that my friend Ryan, he enjoys Dynamite. He watches it every single week. I want you to know the stuff he likes about the show real quick, and then I'll tell you what he doesn't like, and then I'll let you know his biggest take in all of wrestling that I find unbelievable. He loves the format of the show. He loves how they develop characters and storylines, how they take the fans out of the arena and take them to places to learn about the wrestlers. He loves Jericho. He thinks Cody's been good. He really likes how Britt's improved on the mic. And he thinks Mox is good but could be better. This is the stuff he doesn't like about the show. He doesn't like how it's very indie-rific. He doesn't like the Dark Order. He doesn't like any of the tag matches that are, quote, nothing but car crashes with no selling. He thinks they made a huge mistake with Kenny Omega not being getting the rocket strapped to him from the jump, not making him the main title holder from the beginning, because he doesn't think he's going to be as big as he is in Japan, in America. And he hates the Young Bucks.
Okay.
So those are his takes. And then his biggest one of all pro wrestling, which I discovered the first time I met him, he hates The Undertaker.
Okay.
Yeah. It's one of the most differing opinions I've ever heard in the history of
how old is he?
Me being a wrestling fan. I believe he's in his I don't want to say he's too old and then upset him, but I think he's in late 30s, mid 40s.
Okay, so we are the same age, and roughly.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So we're in the same part. I could see his takes on The Undertaker. That was when WWE went really cartoony. You know, it was like Papa Shango was cartoony, but then, and Undertaker was just he had control of the lights and lightning, and he couldn't be hurt. So it was okay, this is a comic strip or whatever. So I can see that. Young Bucks, if you don't like indie wrestling, you probably don't like the Young Bucks.
Yeah.
Yeah, so if you say the show's too indie-rific, and then you say you hate the Young Bucks, I can kind of see that those go hand in hand. Kenny Omega, the thing with Kenny is he's different. He's not one of those people that are pushing to be the top all the time. He's about the performance aspect of wrestling. So, you can say, hey, I want to push you, but if somebody says, hey, I don't think you should push me, the better idea is to push Chris Jericho and his millions of followers, and the better idea is to push Mox and his millions of followers. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
More people stateside in a United States TV show know who Chris Jericho and Jon Moxley are than Kenny Omega.
Mm-hmm.
Is Kenny Omega the best wrestler? A lot of people think so. A lot of people like the way he performs. But he made his following with a huge following in Japan. If you say, name the great American matches Kenny Omega had, they're great matches. They're just not a lot. So he made his name in Japan. The Okada and Omega never happened on American soil.
Mm-hmm.
So I can honestly see that. I see his side of it. I do, but if it's like one of those things, they never came out trying to be traditional wrestling. They made their name on the indies. Young Bucks. I tell everybody they did this. They flew into Oklahoma City for 1 hour and did autograph signing. Literally had dinner with Kevin Nash and then flew back home. That's what they did to build their brand and build their name. I went from paying $5 for their autograph to going to Pro Wrestling Tees and paying $100 and meeting them and getting a T-shirt with it. They built this. So AEW was always going to have a little of that indie spirit in them because that's how they built their following. That's how Cody did, working for way less than his quote for NEW and different shows around the country and building their brand. So, I mean, like I said, I respect his decision or respect his thoughts, but I wouldn't change anything about AEW right now. Is AEW everything I want it to be? No. But is it great? And is it different? And does it make me look forward to wrestling every week like nothing has in a very long time? Absolutely.
Yeah. And I was right. He is 40, so he's around your age.
Yeah, like literally, I turn 40 next year, so
there you go.
We are pretty. Yeah, we were raised in the same generation of wrestling, so I can see a lot of his point of views. Great thing about me, I have you, I have Sydney, I have a lot of young people in my life that, in a way, keep me young, keep me from my old man. You better use the tag ropes and the headlock thought process. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And that's the thing too. He doesn't want it to go for full like Cornette style too with that whole thing. He wants like specifically their tag matches. He wants it to be in the middle of not a full spot fest with like no selling, but he doesn't want it to be like a Cornette style thing. So he's weird. I don't know where to pin him with like the wrestling audience.
Yeah, and that's the thing with me is a lot of people don't know where to pin me because I grew up with Southern style tag team wrestling. That is my favorite wrestling, right? And, you know, when you get to Spot Fest, you think, oh, man, Floyd has to hate this. And then I'll be like, no, I love it, you know, because entertaining's entertaining. You know, I can't just put my finger on exactly what entertains me, but I can tell you everything that doesn't. You know, that kind of thing. I can't tell you everything that entertains me. There's been stuff I like. I thought I hated country music for a long time. Then I'm, you know, got with a woman that loved it, and she's like, well, there's different types of country music.
There is, yeah.
Yeah, that's all.
As long as it's not bro country, I'm good.
Yes. I don't know what that is. I don't know.
The Florida Georgia Lions and
I love Florida.
Ryans of the world.
Yeah, I love them. So there you go.
Okay, well, that's cool. I like the like folky blues country.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, you know, like I told you before this, I was a Kane Brown fan.
Oh yeah, well, Kane Brown's are. Yeah,
he's closer to bro country.
Closer, but not full.
He's not full on.
He's still kind of like the kind of guy that's like more a little bit like maybe Dan Shay.
He tells really good stories, and that's why I like about. And that's what I learned about country music that I didn't know is that the best stories in music to me. I'm not saying these to everybody. Not making this generalized statement. The best stories in country, in my opinion, come from country music.
For me, it's country or hip hop because like songs like Stan show really great storytelling, and then like songs like Just to See You Smile, Tim McGraw, to See you smile, great storytelling in that song.
There you go. All right.
Anyways, we're very off topic, and we should close out this show. We want to thank you guys so much for listening to this episode of All Things Elite. If you want to follow us on social media, follow us at AT Elite Pod. Share the episode with your friends. Get our names out there. We'd really appreciate it. Follow Social Suplex at Social Suplex, myself at SZoomer4, Floyd Johnson Jr. at Floyd Johnson Jr. on Twitter. And again, thank you so much to our support from Manscaped and Power Slam TV for supporting this episode. There's nothing left to do but have our buddy Floyd take us home for tonight.
Yes, I usually end the show with some kind of uplifting, positive statement. Not this week. This week, I'm going to end with what? A congratulations to my tag team partner on this show, Mr. Austin Sumowitz. He got his first pro gig on a radio station in Saginaw, Michigan. I am like, my heart is exploding with pride. The first, I told everyone, I've told you on the show, the first time I listened to you on PN Podcast, just, Sydney sent me an episode, and I was like, this dude's going to do this professionally. And the fact that you got your foot in the door, no matter if it's the biggest job or the smallest guy, that you've got your foot in the door. Now, I know you're going to go in there and knock that bitch down, and you're going to be running the place in no time. Again, sir, congratulations.
I appreciate that so much.
All right. Whether you are in your job, or you're at home, or you at school, always do your best to be elite.